Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another zombie fantasy unboxing. This is for Green Horde Kickstarter stretch goals. It's a part of the fantasy series with obviously Green Horde, but also Black Plague and eventually White Death. So this is part 2 video. If you want to go back, check out part 1. We go over all of the new zombies, some new berserker, fatty bursters. We have some new abominations. We have some new necromancers, as well as some other little game mechanics and stuff. The new dragon, some cool stuff in there. This one we're gonna go over all the survivors, and it's split into 2 because it takes a while to read through and talk about all the different new effects and abilities. This is gonna probably a little bit longer video because there's a lot of survivors. But that's one thing we love about Zombicide, of course. So the other things, we did go through one survivor in the last video, so I'm not going to re-go over here. We went over our giant, who is quite a bit bigger. So yeah, if you want to see what he does, go back and check out the previous video. Alright, we're going to start before we jump into those. We're going to look at some new equipment we got. So we have some new items here. We have 2 copies of... Zoom down in here a little bit to look at these. We have some animal armor. You're familiar with getting armor plus force. This is really cool, like horse armor. Epic Elder Scrolls fans. All that's interesting is we have this, yet there was no extra familiars in this box set, which would have been kind of cool as well. We have the Holy Orb of Death. Spending action, discard the orb from hand. Select a zone within range. 0 to 1 in line of sight, resolve a dragon fire. So it's just a cool way of getting extra dragon fire just built into a grenade, more or less. The magic ball of destiny. Before rolling any attack, you may roll 1 die. If you roll a 1, all 6s are considered 1s, so that's bad. 2 to 3, no changes to the attack. 4 to 6, all 1s are considered 6. Just kind of a neat thing to have sitting around your backpack. Could potentially be really helpful for you to make all your 1/6s, but it could also be just as bad. And then the last one we have for regular weapons, we have the Pit Fighter Gloves. So this is actually one of the other characters this kind of fits with, but it's not, they don't start with it, so that's why I didn't include it with them. So this is gain 1 melee action to use this weapon. Gain +1 free melee action to use this weapon. Maybe used in the backpack slot. So it's always a weapon. It doesn't take up a hand slot, and you get free attack with it. Range of 0, 1 die, 3 accuracy, and 1 damage. So I'm going to just set that on the person it kind of goes with, and then we'll look at it again. Then we do have some new vault weapons. We have 2 copies of the Shield Gauntlet. It's just kind of neat. So you wear it as a gauntlet on your hand, but it has a shield built into it. Very interesting design. Add +1 die to another equipped melee weapon. Armor +4 or reroll another armor. So this isn't armor, but it's also a melee attack. Does not make noise. 0 range, 1 die, 3 range, or 3 accuracy, and 1 hit. And then to kind of go with that, we get the opposites. We get the Sword Gauntlet. So just a sword built into your fist. Grants the Ironhide skill as long as it's equipped. So what does Ironhide do again? I believe it just gives you extra armor. But I like to always find the exact rule definitions. Ironhide. Survivor may make an armor roll with +5 armor value, or a 5+ armor value when they are not wearing armor on their body slot. When wearing armor, survivor adds 1 to the result each die roll for armor. Maximum is always 6. So basically what it does is it gives them a free set of armor on there, but if they already have armor, it makes them stronger. 0 range, you roll 4 dice with a 4 accuracy, and you do 2 damage. It's actually pretty good. For other weird combinations, we're going to get 2 combinations of the Mace Gun. Just a vault weapon, but it does either a melee attack or a range up to 1. For melee, it does 1 die, 3 accuracy, but it does 1 damage. But if you range it, and you actually shoot the mace out of it, it does 1 die, 4 accuracy, a little bit less accuracy, but it does 2 damage. We have the grappling lance. This is pretty crazy, just stab forward. Now, I do wonder if this would be one you update with White Horde, or White Death, because now White Death has polearm equipment, which actually give you extra range. I think something like a lance would be in that category. Once per round, you may prevent one zombie at a range of 0 to 1 from activating. This is kind of neat. So you basically stab it into them, and they can't do anything. So like grapples around them. 0 range, 2 attack, 4 accuracy, 2 damage. And then the last new vault item we get is spiked armor. Armor plus 4. All zombies attacking a survivor at 0 range suffer 1 damage after the attack. The survivor gains the experience. So yeah, so if walkers run up and hit you, they're just going to die from attacking you. It doesn't mean you don't take damage, but they're going to take damage back. So that's just a really quick fly through on our new equipment stuff. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and hop into survivors. Now, I tried to kind of group these together by, like, themes that made sense. But if you're familiar at all, or if you're not, with Kickstarter stretch goals for the Zombicide stuff is they try and theme them off of various pop culture icons or characters. Some might be characters, a lot of times these characters from other movies. They try to take other things from fantasy stuff in here. For example, we have stuff from, like, Conan in Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and stuff like that. But they'll hit into other pop culture shows as well. They've done other stuff like that. And we'll see some of those. We're also going to have references for a lot of times they like to do musicians or other fictional characters. Yeah, so they're really fun to do. And some of them are open to interpretation. So it's like, I'm going to say what the list I have is. I found as much as I can. But some people debate it could be person A, could be person B. Sometimes it is a combination of both. So it's not a hard set in stone that's who it's supposed to be necessarily. So let's just hop into this and look at some of the more generic people we have. We're going to start with Thomas. So Thomas is just supposed to be based off of Friar Tuck from Robin Hood fame. Which definitely makes sense for a fantasy world. I don't know if it's just being a particular version of him. Like there's a certain movie or a TV show. I mean, some people get his long hood there. He's got a bunch of ropes and like handcuff things, but that's a neat weapon too. Yeah, if we flip him over, we can see that back picture of him a little bit better. Alright, so what does Friar Tuck or Thomas do for us? He may hold a healing slot, healing scroll in a slot. Instead, he has 1 free enchantment action, which does just that, gives him an extra action only for enchantments. Yellow is always +1 action. In orange, we have 1 free melee action, and then he has Spellcaster. Spellcaster Survivor has 1 extra free action, may be used only for a magic or enchantment action. And then red, he has 1 free die for melee, 1 free magic attack, or +1 die roll for magic. So it's kind of neat. You can kind of go either way if you want him to be. He's obviously supposed to be meant to like cast enchantments and be like kind of like a healing support type character. But you can definitely do more with the melee actions if you want to give him extra melee, or just make his magic more powerful. So it kind of plays a good even role all the way around. Alright. Up next, we have... We'll drop that back down. We have Rocco. So Rocco, people speculated he's probably based off maybe William Tell. Old archery story, William Tell tried to shoot an apple off his son's head. I think it's a physics lesson. Yeah, sometimes people figure these out based on the looks of the pictures. Ideally, sometimes it's the descriptions of the characters in the in their profiles or in the updates and stuff. So he may hold Ghost Sight instead. He starts with a crossbow, +1 action. In orange, 1 free enchantment action, or +1 max range. That's actually really helpful. In red, +1 guy for range, +1 dice roll for range, or hit and run. Hit and run, of course, is the really fun ability. That means, excuse me. They can use the skill for free after resolve a magic, melee, or ranged action, so any type of action. Resulting in at least 1 zombie killed. They can resolve a free move action, survivor's benefit, affects the slippery from this move action. So you give extra, so basically if they defeat at least 1 zombie, they get a free move action. They still have to pay for any penalties if they're in a group of zombies. But what's neat about hit and run is you can use it to, if it's the last zombie you killed in a group, you can use hit and run, move to the next zone and prep for the next attack. Or you could use like, hey, we defeated the last guy, now I can retreat away from all the rest to give me some more distance. Someone like him, that's actually could be very helpful, very ranged character. You can take out 1 guy from a ranged distance, and they can move into the next spot to start aiming up to take out the next one without having to waste extra actions. So pretty cool there. Yeah, he's your pretty basic range character. Now, I'm trying to do some of the more generic range characters because some of the Kickstarter guys can get pretty crazy. Then we have Jean. So this is supposed to be Jeanne d'Arc, or Joan of Arc. Our French, noblewoman? I don't remember if she was. But yeah, she's, very, very famous in history. Fiery redhead. She just a whole dragon bio. That's kind of cool. She starts with Born Leader. So Born Leader says, during the survivor's turn, the survivor may give 1 free action to another survivor. Must use it during their next turn or it is lost. So that's, Born Survivor kind of changes from Zombicide to Zombicide. This one, they give a token out, then during that person's next turn, they get to use a free action. So this only works if she plays it, if she gets to act early on. So if she's the last person acting in a turn, it'll still stay on there till their next turn, I guess. Just at the end of their turn, it goes away if they don't use it. Yeah, this can be very helpful for setting people up later. Then be like, hey, here's an extra action. Now you can move again or attack again. But you're also kind of gambling because you don't know if they're going to need it. They might not have a use for it exactly. Generally, there's always a reason to use an action. If nothing else, search. If you're in a building, who knows? But it's always pretty cool to have. Bloodlust melee. Bloodlusts are... keep trying to put my book back and forth. Spend 1 action with the survivor. They move up to 2 zones containing at least 1 zombie, and they gain a free melee action. So this just lets them get a free move. They spend 1 action, but they get a move and attack in the same turn. So they combine them, but you have to move into a zone with zombies. Brothers in Arms, +1 guy for combat. Brothers in Arms is always a really fun mechanic. So everyone in the same zone as this character gains +1 guy to combat. But if they're by themselves, they don't have this ability. So it's a little, I forgot what the term is. Anywho, yeah, so you kind of gotta watch her use it. So if she's gonna stick with other people, this is a really great ability. But if she goes off on her own, then it becomes a completely useless skill. In red, she has +1 damage for melee, 1 free combat action, or Brothers in Arms +1 combat damage. So she's gonna be she's definitely gonna be your melee character, but she's definitely gonna be helpful if you keep her right next to everybody else, because then everyone gets more combat. Plus, she can give out extra actions to other characters, which can be very helpful as well. So those are kind of our 3 more generic-y characters that we had. So we're going to go ahead and jump into some other fantasy tropes. We have Hig, or Haig. Not really sure how they have that pronounced. So here is his, very Viking looking, which makes sense because he's based on the character from the Vikings TV series. Let me just show him up, like the fur coat on there. He has the ponytail. He's got his big round shield and the single-handed axe, which lots of Vikings have. So he is based on, I might mispronounce this, so I apologize. Lagertha? I'm sorry, no, he's Ragnar. Sorry, Ragnar, played by Travis Fimmel, from the Viking series. So he may hold a great axe. His brothers in arms, +1 combat. So cool, he starts with that. He has Bloodlust melee, we looked over. He has Born Leader. So all the same stuff as the previous character. +1 free melee action. Brothers in arms, +1 free melee action. So there he has the option of giving people an extra full action. And then lastly, he has Swordmaster. Which Swordmaster says, treats all melee weapons as if they had the dual symbol. So it's kind of neat. So you could opt to, like, essentially just become more and more combat oriented. So that's pretty cool there. Then our other Viking was the one I just mentioned. We have Horde. So we get a combination of Vikings. I like when they do these, at least in pairs, so you can be like, so when you're playing the game, you can either kind of form little teams of like 2 characters here, 2 characters there, or you can be like, play like a 2-player game. I'm going to play as these 2, you play as these 2, you can kind of theme characters. So this was Lagertha from Vikings, played by Catherine Winnick. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So she starts with she may hold the North Shield, she also starts with the North Shield. In her orange, she has +1 die for melee, or +1 die roll for melee. In red, 1 free melee action, Born Leader, and Lifesaver. Lifesaver says you use steal for free once during your turn, select the zone containing 1 zombie at a range from 1 previous survivor. Chosen survivors in a selected zone are dragged to your survivor zone. This is not a move action. A survivor can decline it for whatever reason. I don't know why they ever would. Survivor can't cross closed doors or walls, but can't be extracted into or out of a vault. They can cross barriers and hedges, though. So it's kind of a neat idea. Is like, you have a guy that's being swarmed, you can pull them back out. Now, it's kind of cool because you combine, as teams, you put these 2 together, and they're going to automatically really get extra combat if they stick together, plus potentially extra free melee action. You have a lot of extra melee guys. These guys are going to run around and just beat the crap out of everybody. And then Hig could go first here, and then Hyde could always use a Lifesaver if he needed to. Or they could be giving Born Leader and passing that token to each other and giving each other extra actions back and forth, which is pretty fun. Alright, let's look at the next one. So going from Vikings to a different action adventure, I guess. We're gonna go to Conan the Barbarian. So this is from, trying to look at my list here. Valeria from Conan, played by Sandal Bergman. This is not the right one. I keep grabbing the wrong characters. This is... I do not want to look at this one right now. We'll come back to her. Spoiler. I keep grabbing the wrong ones. I have these in the wrong order. My apologies. We'll come back to her, though. She's themed with some other characters. That's why sorry, this is the one I wanted to talk about. This is Valeria. Sigrun the Slayer. Valeria from Conan the Barbarian. So like, where's Conan, you might ask? They gave Conan in a different expansion. With a Conan like with Red Sonja. They're in a completely different expansion box, which I wouldn't do in this video. Yeah, look at that big sword there. The scimitar almost. What she can say? It's like a scimitar. She is a scimitar because she can hold a scimitar. Then she gains hit and run right off the bat, so that's pretty fun there. 1 free action. In orange, 1 free move action or charge. And charge is survivor can use this skill for free as often as they please during their turns. Move up to 2 zones because zones contain at least 1 zombie. So we did have Bloodlust, which lets you spend an action to get a move into a zone of the zombie, get a free attack then. So basically you're combining a move and attack into one action. Charge just lets you move into zones with zombies. So you get free move actions, but you have to move into a zone with the zombies. So they don't just get to move 2 spaces, they have to move into a space with a zombie. In red, we have +1 damage for melee attacks, +1 free combat action, or +1 zone per move. And that should be able to be used with that charge as well. Yeah, normal movements still apply. Enter a zone containing zombie still ends in action. So it might not work with that, but you could get that an option if you want to be able to move her farther. So that's pretty fun. Our other Conan character we're going to have is Earl Jamie, who is James Earl Jones, or Thusilla Doom in the Conan, one of the big bads. So there we're going to get his miniature. I'm not sure why they made it look like he has a mustache in there. But yeah, it's some big old bulky armor. Alright, so what does he have? He starts with Death Gale. Or he can hold Death Gale. He has Zombie Link to begin with. Ooh, that's fun. So Zombie Link is... the survivor plays an extra turn, not just an action, a full turn, each time an extra activation card is drawn from their zombie pile. They play before the extra activated zombies. So yeah, whenever that extra activation comes up, he gets to play an extra full turn ahead of time. So this could help him take out some of the previous zombies that were waiting, or that might have had the extra activation, or maybe just get away. He could just use 4 action points to run. He gets Born Leader. He also gets Double Casting, which we haven't seen yet. Every time the survivor performs an enchantment action, they select an extra target for the same enchantment for free. First, designate both targets and resolve 1 application after the other in any order. Cool. So yeah, if he has something that, like, an attack spell is going to hurt a guy, he can select 2 different zombies or tiles. If he has, like, a healing spell, he could select 2, or a speed spell to give extra movement. He could give that to 2 different characters to help them out. In red, 1 free combat action, +1 die roll for magic, and then spellcaster. So he's definitely going to be your kind of sit back and support character. Pretty cool there. Alright, we have up next, we're going to some other fantasy stuff. We have Ygraine, who is Elrond from Lord of the Rings, or sorry, Eowyn from Lord of the Rings, played by Miranda Otto. Interestingly enough, so out of every single Zombicide game, so 3 seasons of Modern, or Classic, plus 3 sets of 2nd edition, plus now 3 full campaigns of Fantasy, plus Invaders, plus Undead or Alive, this is the only game that has appeared twice. And to be even fair, there might be one other character I've named twice. But even to be fair, the other person this appears to is actually crossed over into Massive Darkness 2. So they didn't even appear in any of the Zombicide. They didn't appear again as a crossover into Massive Darkness 2, which is a different game. But even then, all of them characters have different names in Zombicide. So it's pretty cool. There's all these different games, all these hundreds of different survivors, and they haven't duplicated any name except this one. I think one other one, which I can't think of. She gets to hold a Norse sword, +1 die roll for melee, +1 free melee action, +1 free move action. In red, 1 damage for melee. Extra damage is always helpful. Bloodlust melee and hit and run. So a very standard, just melee character, just gonna run around and do stuff. Now it's kind of interesting because Eowyn was a horse character, or commanded some horses in the Lord of the Rings movies. So it'd be interesting if she had some mechanic with that, but I can see why they don't want to maybe be like, because there's no horses in the game directly. But it would have been kind of neat if they would have had a way for like extra ability for something with companions or starts with a companion. It would have been kind of a cool little effect. Alright, up next we have Brannog. Brannog Steelgreaves. I like when you actually look at their profiles on the Kickstarter. They have more names. It's supposed to be Dane Ironfoot from The Hobbit, played by Billy Connolly. Now, I was looking this up. I could not actually find any pictures of this character, so I'm not really sure where the community came up with this, but he is one of the dwarves and the hobbits. He wasn't listed as one of the main characters. At least not that I could find. Well, maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. But that guy with a big giant fur coat. There's a lot of these fur coats in here. He's a big hammer. So he gets to start with the dwarven hammer. But you can also hold it in his slot, which is really cool. Then we have Bloodlust for melee. He has Ironhide, so he gets extra armor to start with. One free combat action, Ironclad Walker and Tough. So Ironclad means whatever the zombie type is, in this case it's Walker. Ignore all wounds coming from zombies having indicated keywords, such as for Walker. This is Orc Walkers, regular Walkers. If there's an abomination for some reason, it's classified as a Walker for whatever reason. It would ignore that too. So this is kind of neat. He has extra armor, and then when you get to red, he can just ignore all walkers. So if there's a lot of walkers out, just give him that. He can't be hurt. He can stand on his own, draw their attention, take them out, which is pretty cool. Or he can get tough, which I believe just lets him ignore the first point of damage. Yep, ignore the first wound they receive by any single zombie from every zombie phase. So yeah, if he's only fighting maybe a couple of guys or maybe a few bigger guys and there's not a lot of walkers, that might be more beneficial. So if like he gets them to like a Brook and they do 2 damage to him, he only takes 1 damage. That's pretty cool as well. Alright, up next we have everyone's favorite, Sir Schwartz, who is the Black Knight, based off of the Black Knight from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. There's been a lot of Monty Python characters in the Black Horde stuff. We've had, I think the previous Kickstarter set, Black Plague, had a bunch of versions of the main cast. So here we're getting the Black Knight in here. He gets to hold the Norse sword. He starts with, "Is that all you've got?" Which makes sense, because he's like, "Oh, 'tis a flesh wound." So, "Is that all you've got?" says, use the skill anytime a survivor is about to get wounded. Discard 1 equipment card. For each wound they're about to receive, you get 1 wound per discard equipment. So basically, you can survive a bunch of attacks as long as he has equipment cards. So yeah, if you have a bunch of characters, you could have picked up extra unique weapons, picked up better stuff, give them, your starter stuff. You can always at least keep discarding to survive attacks. In orange, 1 free melee action and regeneration. So yeah, if already being able to discard stuff for that's not good enough, he gets regeneration. At the end of each game round, remove all wounds the survivor received. Regeneration does not work if does not work if the survivor has been eliminated. So yeah, you might be like, okay, yeah, but if he has regeneration, doesn't that negate the first ability? It does not, because if he's gonna take 5 wounds, he's gonna die. So you could discard equipment to knock that down to, oh, I knocked it down to 2 wounds, right? And at the end of his turn, he heals them 2 wounds back up. But he has to survive the attack first. +1 die roll for melee, charge, and Ironhide. So then he gets armor at the end too. So he can become really hard to kill. Doesn't get a lot of other abilities, a little bit of melee, but that's kind of just a different direction you can play with a character like this. Alright, up next we have Cassius. So Cassius is an interesting character who is supposed to be based off of, because there's a couple different people that have different thoughts. Is one, they think it might be Gannicus, from the TV series Spartacus, which would be kind of cool. Who was played by Dustin Clare. So that might be possible. Otherwise, some people were thinking it was, this is where I ran into some confusion. Someone wrote Rowan, but I can only find the name Remo, who was a, evil guard in the Conan 2011 series, like the new update with Jason Momoa. And they were looking at, a picture, he looks a lot like that character in the picture. So part of the other reason why they think this person might be Cassius, might be Janitus, is related to the next card. So I'll talk about that in just a moment. But he has a falchion, or he can hold a falchion. He starts with a battle rage, which I think we went over before, but let me just double check here. About survivor gains an extra die roll for subsequent melee attacks whenever they kill at least one zombie. So yeah, as long as he keeps killing stuff. So every time he kills a zombie, he gains an extra dice. So if he normally rolled 2 dice for his attack, and he does another melee attack, as long as he killed something, he gets 3 dice. And if he does another one, he gets 4 dice. As long as it's uninterrupted melee attacks, he keeps gaining more dice every time he takes something out. In orange, 1 free melee attack or action, and Swordmaster in red, 1 die for melee. Ironclad Fatty, or Brute, as they're now called, and then he has Ironhide. So yeah, you can ignore the bigger guys. So we had the last guy that could, other guy there could ignore the dwarf, which could ignore walkers. This guy can ignore the bigger guys, which is pretty cool. Gives some options. Alright, so our next character isn't based on a movie or TV series. It's a real life person, is we have Janitus. So this is where the name comes in, of the last one being Cassius. So this is supposed to be, Lost person, this is Muhammad Ali. But there are some people that think this might also be a young Mike Tyson. And it kind of looks like it could be either, depending on which pictures you look at, and stuff like that. So yeah, let's take a look at the miniature here quick. Pretty cool, though, like a melee boxer character. That's just a fun concept. Like, yeah, you're gonna have someone out there in the world and be like, oh, I'm just gonna punch these guys. So he may hold Tremor. And this is where this kind of goes into the Pit Fighter Gloves kind of theme with him as well. Not directly tied to him, but they do kind of theme. So he starts with Taunt. Taunt is one of my favorite abilities. So Taunt lets you use a skill for free once during each of your turn. Select the zone your survivor can see. All zombies standing in the selected zone immediately gain extra activation. They try and reach taunting the survivor by any means available. Taunted zombies ignore all other survivors. They do not attack them and leave their zones there standing if need to reach the taunting survivor. So it's really cool because you use it to pull zombies towards you. So either you can use it like, hey, I'm going to pull these guys in my zone so I don't have to spend my actions moving to them. But you can also use it as a great way to, pull guys away from your other zombies. Hey, this guy ended his turn. There's 4 zombies in his zone. I can pull them, at least the zone away from them, towards me. Then that way he doesn't have to take damage on the next turn. Or you can use it to set up a trap. Like, there's already a group of zombies in front of you. See another group of zombies, pull them into that same zone, then throw a Dragon Bile in there and take all of them out in one shot. So that's pretty cool. 1 free melee action, and Shove. Shove lets you pick a zone that you are in with any zombies in it. Push all of them into an adjacent zone. Again, almost exact opposite of Taunt. It lets you push everyone out of your zone. So if you ended your turn, you didn't take everyone out. You're like, oh, I got 1 action left. Rather than trying to roll to take out 4 zombies, I just shove them to another zone. If they're all walkers, they'll spend 1 activation just trying to get back to me, and they won't attack me. Or again, you can use to shove guys into a path where they combine with other guys to Dragon Bile them, or something like that. Or now if you have the siege weapons, shove a group up into a line of siege weapon area. In red, 1 damage for melee, 1 free melee action, and 1 free move action. So, kind of a very interesting character. Now, the whole naming thing why this is very interesting. So, we said Cassius might be Janitus, and they kind of go backwards because they're thinking he might mean Cassius because Muhammad Ali is also known as Cassius Clay. So there's kind of they're going back and forth. If this is Cassius Clay, then this would have to be Janitus, and that's why they traded names. So that was kind of the thought process people had behind that. Again, this is just other people's thoughts and everything like that. Alright, we're going to go back to one of the other characters we had earlier. We had Olivia, who I did kind of mention. I read her name, but I read it wrong. War Chief Livia is supposed to be Imperior Furiosa from Mad Max Fury Road, played by Charlize Theron, who ends up being one of the few actors or actresses who's had multiple Zombicide characters based off, because she was also a queen and necromancer, playing her part from Snow White, the Snow White movie. I think one of the only other people that have had multiple roles has been some of the guys from Monty Python, because they played multiple roles in Monty Python movies, so they just ended up getting multiple there. And I want to say some of the musicians have had multiple, just because some appear in this game, some appear in one of the other games. But yeah, so War Chief Olivia can hold a Norse sword. She has 1 free combat action. In orange, she has 1 free melee action, and she gets a marksman, which we have not seen yet. Survivor may freely choose targets of all their magic and ranged actions. Misses don't hit survivors. So that's pretty cool. So this more combat action to what you need to do. She needs to be ranged, she can be ranged, she can be melee, she needs melee. 1 free die for any combat, 1 free movement, and lifesaver. Just kind of neat. She's a little bit of an all-around character again. Alright, so then we're going to jump into another Mad Max character. And this is where things sometimes get a little iffy on who this is supposed to be. So, a lot of people, I'm going to flip to the other side there, see his full picture there. People say this is Nux from Mad Max, who I forgot to look up who plays that character. I apologize. That's definitely a neat pose, though. 2 big giant spears. So yeah, Nux is one of them. I haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road. I don't honestly remember if... No, I think I saw the other Mad Max on there. I saw Fury Road. I might have. I don't remember. But he's a guy that yells, "Witness me," at the beginning or during the movie. So that's kind of like, I think, where the pose and that comes from. But there are also people that says the look of his face with like the tattoo painted on there in the description there also could possibly be Eddie from Iron Maiden. There's a version of him, I believe it's the shaman version of Eddie, who has that. It just, looks-wise, he looks very close to that, but, like, everything else, he doesn't really make sense. Like, description-wise, and text-wise from the update. But here we have, he holds torches, because that guy does have some torches, I believe. He gets to start with Jump, which you don't see very often. Jump. Target is still once during each of their turns. Spend 1 action to move 2 zones into a zone which they have line of sight. Movement-related skills like +1 per move or slippery are ignored, but movement penalties like having zombies in a certain zone applies. Ignore everything in the intervening zone. So this will let him jump over hedges, jump over barricades, jump up over ledges, jump off of towers. Basically, again, we'll jump over a group of zombies to get around them, get in between them. Do whatever he needs to do. So it's just a cool extra thing. Then he gets ambidextrous. Survivor treats all combat spells, melee and ranged weapons as if they had the dual wield symbol, so he can dual wield anything. Then he gets Iron Rain after that. When resolving a ranged action, Survivor may substitute the dice with any number of the ranged weapons, any number of zombies. So we've had the magic, or not magic, we've had the melee version of this. So basically, if he has a weapon that has 2 attack and there's 4 zombies, he can roll 4 dice instead. +1 die for combat, +1 free combat action, and frenzy combat. Frenzy says, all weapons in combat spell a survivor carries gain +1 die per wound the survivor suffers. Dual weapons and spell each gain a die for a total of +2 dice per wound per dual combat action. So yeah, if he gets ambidextrous and that, basically every time he has damage, he's going to roll 2 extra dice per every point of damage, which is pretty darn powerful. So his whole thing here is he just wants to get right into action and just start terrorizing everyone. Alright, so since we mentioned Eddie from Iron Maiden, we're going to kind of head into the music a little bit. We're going to look at the Deathmaster, who people believe is Lenny from Motorhead, probably based on his design, tattoos. But yeah, this is a cool barbarian. I love the big grip on the handle. But yeah, this guy definitely looks badass. Little knife in the back, just in case. Some skulls. Yeah, if you look at his picture in full there, you can see that full axe there, which is pretty cool. Alright, so what does he have? He can hold a great axe. He starts with Taunt and Reaper Melee. So that's pretty fun. He actually just started with 2 abilities. Not a lot of characters do that. Bloodlust Melee, +1 die roll for melee. In red, 1 free melee action. Barbarian and Super Strength. Barbarian is... so that's the one where you can substitute dice for every zombie in there. So it's like Iron Rain, but for melee. And then Super Strength. Consider damage of melee weapons to be substituted for 3. So all his weapons do 3 damage to start with. That's actually a very, very powerful ability. Which is pretty cool. Alright. Up next, we're going to keep in the musician theme. We have Zanzibar. So Zanzibar is Freddie Mercury from Queen. So based off of... yeah, just Freddie Mercury from Queen. Which again, this is starting to get where some of these characters have been repeated in the other Zombicide. Like I said, your Grain was the only one. I don't think there's a Zanzibar in another one, but I believe, like Charlize Theron, I should say, Freddie Mercury, I believe, has maybe been in another set. Some people also say he kind of looked, I think, with the popped collars, some people thought he gave off a Doctor Strange vibe from Marvel Comics. I think that's a stretch, just saying because he has a popped cape or cloak or popped collar, and it's a little too much. He can hold Ghost Sight. He has Spellbook and Spellcaster. So someone might be like, oh, this guy seems like he's going to be overpowered. That's fine. You don't want to use it, don't play as him, right? Spellcaster Survivor has an extra free action made on any magic or enchantment action. And Spellbook says all combats and enchantments in the backpack are considered to be in his hands. He could be considered to have dual wielding if he has 1 in each area. It says choose any of the 2 before resolving actions involving the caster. So not only does he gain extra action every turn with cast stuff, he can cast anything from his backpack. So just let him collect this stuff up and let him cast wherever he needs to. In orange, 1 free magic action and Born Leader. In red, 1 die for magic, double casting, and mana rain. Double casting, of course, then lets him target 2 things. So now you can cast everything twice, and you can cast it twice and hit double people. And then Mana Rain, much like Barbarian and Iron Rain, lets him use the number of zombies in the area to roll the dice. Again, if he has a combat spell that does 2 dice and there's 5 zombies, he just to roll 5 dice instead. So definitely really cool effect there. Alright, up next we have the Marquis, or Prince. Yeah, definitely. I love that just have, like, all these medieval characters. This guy has a giant fro. He has a big old hilt guard on his swords. He's got double swords there. So he may hold a Falchion. But he also starts with Jump and Swordmaster. So yeah, Jump, he can move around, and Swordmaster treats all melee weapons as if they had the dual symbol, so he can dual wield all swords. But the other guy's ambidextrous, so let him go with anything, he can only do it for swords. In orange, +1 guy for melee and Born Leader. In red, 1 guy for combat, 1 free combat action, and +1 guy roll for melee. So he's pretty much straightforward. Just getting into the action, whipping around dual wielding swords, doing a bunch of extra free damage. Pretty cool. Alright, our next musician character is Brix Moonshines. This is David Bowie, based off his Ziggy Stardust character, or persona. This guy has swords upon swords. He's already carrying 2 swords. He has a sword here, a sword there, a sword there. So he has 5 swords on him. But then there's another one back there behind him. So 6 swords. I'm surprised he's not wearing one on his back. Yeah, 1. Got 1 there. 2, 3, 4. There's another hilt back there, so possibly 5, 6, possibly 7 swords. Might be 6, so might just be a stabber, but it does look like he has, according to this arc, he has 4, 5, 6 total. Plus that's 7, yeah, so he has 7 swords. That's nuts. He's showing Zoro up. He may also hold a curved dagger. Brother in Arms, search +1. So this means when you get to search, draw an extra card with searching a survivor. And then he also has Taunt. In orange, he has 1 free magic and 1 free melee. So depending on how you want to play them. In red, 1 free combat, barbarian, and mana rain. So yeah, that's kind of neat. Do you want to do magic actions? Take 1 free magic, then go mana rain. You want to do melee actions? Do free melee, do barbarian. You need to be a little here or there. You can also just do 1 free combat action. Maybe you have a powerful enough weapon, you don't need to worry about the other thing. That's pretty cool. Alright. Up next, we have Ryan John. So this is supposed to be George Michael, and I think that's the Ryan John to be playing George Michael being 2 first names. From the musical group Wham. Yeah, which is pretty fun. So there is, you gotta have faith, right? Yeah, he's kind of like a paladin kind of look, I believe, to him, like a knight at least. He may hold the North Sword as well. He has Lucky to start with. Lucky survivor can reroll once all dice for each action or armor roll they take. The new result takes place of the previous one. Skill stacks with other effects or equipment at all rerolls. If you roll a 6, he gets +1 die. So every time he rolls a 6, he gets an extra die for melee. In orange, +1 die roll for melee and Born Leader. So yeah, that Lucky and getting a lot of extra dice roll can be very helpful. In red, 1 free melee action, Barbarian, and Bloodlust melee. So yeah, pretty cool there. Alright, as long as we're talking about real people, let's look at one other real people. Even though you're a musician, they're personas sometimes. We have Kelsey. This is supposed to be Kelsey Grammer from Frasier. So this is kind of a weird random one. Because, yeah, you could argue musicians are kind of like fictional characters. Like their personas are fictional characters. But yeah, it's interesting to have just Kelsey Grammer in here. Not based off of like any movie role or anything. But hey, we need another really cool looking wizard, so I'm not going to argue. Awesome spiral gnarled staff. Yeah, I mean, I looked at him, it doesn't really look like Kelsey Grammer, but again, sometimes it's just based off the flavor text, or the text they have in the updates for the game. Alright, So he can hold a healing spell. He has 1 free enchantment action. In orange, he has double casting and spellbook. In red, +1 max range, +1 die roll for magic and spellcaster. So obviously he's a mage. He's going to use all his magic abilities. Alright, up next we have a group of characters from a TV series, which a lot of people might recognize as soon as I put up the first card. So we have Z. So this is a couple of characters from Stranger Things. And this is kind of neat because they do this every once in a while. They had, the last one was a lot of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I think way back to classic modern Zombicide, they did a bunch of Big Bang Theory stuff. So it's kind of neat to add this in there. Also goes with the Gorg Abomination from the other video. So Z, who's supposed to be 11 from Stranger Things here, is also played by Millie Bobby Brown. If this wants to focus for me. There we go. Yeah, it's a bald psychic person. Girl holding a box with gold coins, and I'm not that familiar with Stranger Things. I don't know if that's supposed to be kind of like, they look like coins, but they also look like waffles, which I know is a big thing for that show. She may hold a telekinetic blast. She has 1 free enchantment action. In orange, she gets spellbook or spellcaster. In red, 1 free magic action, double casting an Ironclad Abomination. That's really fun. You can just stand up against abominations and not take damage. So yeah, if you end up getting down, there's like abomination coming, it might be worth just giving her that ability and let her just stand there and take it. Up next, we have Billy, who is Mike from Stranger Things, or Wolf Finghart. Did I say that right? Finghart? Finghard. Sorry, I know it wasn't key. But yeah, he's a little mace wielding shield guy. Pretty cool. So what does Billy do for us? He may hold the Norse shield. Starts with Lifesaver. Should pull guys out of danger. Gets Bloodlust melee and +1 die roll for melee in red. In orange. In red, 1 free melee action. Reaper melee and roll 6 +1 die for melee. So just straight up doing melee damage, wielding that the mace around and taking guys out. Our third Stranger Things character is Lawrence, who is Lucas, played by Caleb McLaughlin. So now we have a mage character, we have a melee character, and we're going to have a ranger character. So we're getting our troops. They do have stuff like D&D in there, so we're kind of playing on some of that trope as well. So he gets his fur coat, his arrows there. As I get arrows when they're down around the hip versus on the back, it just seems like, wouldn't that be easier to pull out, maybe? Alright, he can start with he may hold a longbow. He starts with +1 max range, which is really nice. In orange, 1 free range action or marksman. Marksman again lets you choose your targets, so you don't have to worry about shooting your friendlies. So that means Billy there can run in and start meleeing people, and he can just shoot them without having to worry about hitting them. In red, 1 free combat action, 1 free move action, or +1 die roll for range. So at the end, do you need to just do extra actions? Do you need to move more, or do you want some extra range damage? Alright, so we are going to do a quick little pause on the Horde box unboxing to look at 2 other characters quick that were promotions. So these are ones that if you, during the Kickstarter, if you got the entire plug, you went all in on stuff, or if you also got, one was for one thing, one was for the other. I don't remember exactly which was which. You got 2 extra little bonus characters. So one was North the Halfling, and the other one was Liam. So I'm only doing these right now because they're outside of the main Horde box because they tie into Stranger Things. So Liam on this side is Will from Stranger Things, played by Noah Schnapp. And North, the halfling, is Dustin, played by Gaten, trying to read my small print here, Macazero. Yeah, so it's kind of cool. We got 2 extra Stranger Things characters. So you can get the full collection of 5. You just would have had to pre-order everything. But these, again, do not come inside the Horde box. But let's look at what they do. Alright, so let's jump into North here. North, again, is Dustin from Stranger Things. So he can hold a torch. He's the bard of the group. We already looked at the other ones. We had our mage, our archer, and our warrior. So we're going to get a bard in here to fit with that. So there's 1 free search action. So that's cool. Just extra be able to find stuff. Well, you can collect the crap on his back. 1 guy for combat. Also has Slippery. I'm surprised. We went through all these characters. We haven't seen Slippery yet. Slippery is... Survivor does not spend extra actions when they perform a move action out of a zone containing zombies. Enter, it still ends them. So kind of because he's supposed to be a little small guy, he can sneak in and out of zombies quicker. Interestingly enough, though, he only has 2 red actions instead of 3. I'm not really sure the reasoning for that. But 1 free move action and lucky. So very interesting. And there's his miniature. A crossbow, a little axe, a little sword, a bunch of arrows. Is there a hammer on there? Plus he's carrying around his loot. Alright, and then the last character we have for Stranger Things was Liam. Who was, again, Will from Stranger Things. So of his group, I would say he's probably the rogue, like the thief type class. So if you're going for like your 5 major tropes of D&D, that's kind of what you're going for. Because usually like the warrior has like the shield or the big one, he has the smaller blades. So he gets the curved dagger. He has Zombieland, so he gets extra activation from zombies. In orange, +1 damage for melee or Slippery. In red, 1 free combat action, 1 free move action, and Rotten. Rotten is another one we have yet to see. At the start of the turn, the survivor has not resolved any combat actions, melee, ranged, or magic, not fired a siege engine, or produced a noise token. Place a Rotten token next to their base. If they haven't done, they can search for stuff, they can rearrange their inventory, they can move. They just can't do anything that would basically make noise. So opening a door may or may not qualify, depending on if they have something that makes noise or not. So they get a Rotten token. As long as they have this token, they're totally ignored by all zombies. They're not considered a noise token. Zombies don't attack them. We've been walked by them. Survivors lose their Rotten token if they resolve any type of combat action, fire siege engine, or make noise. Even with the Rotten token, survivors still have to spend extra actions to move out of zones. So that's kind of cool. So like, yeah, if you get into the middle of thick of zombies and you know they're coming, just don't do anything for a turn. And then maybe you can kind of hide and let them just pass by you. So that's pretty fun. Alright, now we're going to get into some more interesting or odd characters. Moving more and more kind of away from the realm of fantasy. So we're going to start with Asmodeus. So this is supposed to be V from Vendetta, or Hugo Weaving, Agent Smith from The Matrix, or Elrond from Lord of the Rings. Interesting. It's a cool design, though. He's very roguelike. He's got his curved daggers, or bladed, wavy daggers. I guess they're curved, but they're also kind of wavy. You can't really see as much on the miniature, but he's kind of got that face mask in there. But he gets to hold a curved dagger, which he also gets to start with. And he has +1 action, and of course, in orange, 1 die for melee, and Slippery. It's funny, I'm like, we haven't seen Slippery yet. Now we've had 3 characters in a row that have all had Slippery. +1 damage for melee, rocking, and taunt. So yeah, he's just kind of he wants to sneak around, move around, just cause trouble. He's not meant to do a lot of damage. He's meant to be kind of like crowd control. All right, up next we have Grayson Gruber, also known as Severus Snape. From Alan Rickman. Severus Snape from Harry Potter, everyone's favorite, Alan Rickman here. Also interesting is because Gruber would be reference to his character from Die Hard, Hans Gruber. So that's kind of a fun one there. So he gets Death Gale. He can hold. So there it is. So we got another wizard, of course. We need some more wizards. A lot of melee characters. We got little potions and stuff on his belt. He's got that big flowy, almost double cape, that like one that goes over in the front, which is really cool. I like the white on black though also. I think that's a very good contrast for characters. Alright, so he gets 1 free melee action. He has Spellbook or Spellcaster. In red, he has +1 damage for magic, +1 free combat action, or +1 free enchantment. So kind of what do you want him to be able to do? He's basically going to be casting magic. But do you need to do damage? Do you need to have additional damage? Do extra abilities? Do extra enchantments? Yeah, then the difference between Spellbook, Spellcaster. Spellbook means they can use anything they already have equipped, or Spellcaster just gives them extra action. So do you need the extra action, or do you need more available to have everything available to you? Pretty interesting. The next one's a kind of weird one. Just theming wise. So we have Countess Ordelia, who is Princess Leia Organa, or Carrie Fisher from Star Wars. So it's only kind of odd because everything else has sort of been, I get some of the fantasy and pop culture ones. The musician characters, musicians, okay. Fantasy characters, obviously. Stranger Things. I get because there's a D&D element to that story, but Star Wars seems a little out of it because of the whole this is a fantasy realm. But obviously, you looked at her, it definitely works. She gets in a weird electric whip there, but she has a crossbow, which is supposed to be like her gun blaster. But yeah, like a light whip, which is very interesting. Yeah, it definitely fits. It works for the designing and everything. It's just like a weird choice. So if you're picking all these fantasy movies and you pick Star Wars. But yeah, that's, it's nothing wrong with that. I have no issues with that whatsoever. So she can hold the hand or crossbow. She starts with Born Leader. She gets Brothers in Arms, 1 free move action. Reaper ranged, so she just gets to take an extra action every time she does a ranged action. Or kills something with range, she gets an extra ranged action. I probably just said that wrong. She can freely kill an additional zombie if she kills something with a ranged action. There we go. She can get an extra action. She gets to kill it. If she kills 1 walker, she gets a free walker kill. +1 die roll for range. Brothers in R1 free combat action and taunt. She should be very good if she sticks back with other ranged characters, because then they can gain some extra movement, extra combat, with their Brothers in Arms. Plus, she can give them extra actions or shout out to the melee guys to help protect them. We had another guy that had a bunch of that Brothers in Arms who worked better as a melee. So it's kind of nice we got almost the opposite of that. Alright, we are down to the last 4. The last 4 are, if Princess Leia was kind of weird and didn't sort of make sense, these ones may not make as much sense either. The first one does fit in a little bit more. We have Princess Alia. This is clearly Wonder Woman. So comic book doesn't really make as much sense for fantasy, which hers does because she is already an Amazon princess, so she's used to, combating with a sword and shield already. So I can definitely see this being themed. This should be like, she woke up or she lived long enough and went into olden times versus medieval times versus modern times. is basically what that's supposed to be like. She may use the spell Tremor. She has super strength right off the bat, so she's gonna be a powerhouse. One free melee action and lifesaver. In red, one free combat action, plus one die roll for melee and shove. Alright, so the next three are the ones that are kind of odd. But they fit in with the Princess Aelia theme. Is we have Badger. This is our Dwarven Wolverine character. I like the fact that he has daggers sticking out. And then he has like his head mask actually has like feathers. So it's kind of like, again, they like the Princess Leia one. They definitely made it themed to look like, okay, this guy fits. He's got his braids down there. But yeah, so he's obviously supposed to be a Wolverine. But yeah, he looks like the character. He looks like a dwarf. You could be like, oh, this is a dwarf doing that. So yeah, doesn't stand out that much. One free melee action, regeneration, and swordmaster. Then one free die for melee, plus one die roll for melee, and ironclad abomination. So of course, the small guy just to stand up to the highest guy out there. Makes perfect sense to me. Alright, up next to go with Wolverine, we're gonna get Anton Guffin. So this is Iron Man, or Anton being like Anthony or Tony Stark. And Guffin, I believe it's just to be like a plan, like a McGuffin, which is like whatever magical item or device you need to automatically solves all your problems. So he's like the MacGuffin because he's right. But again, they made him look like he has a suit of armor, so he looks like a knight. He's carrying a mace, so it's like that, and even like the whole thing with like, try and cast like a spell or whatever. They put this symbol on his hand and on his chest. So it's like he's like, oh, it's part of his natural order, is his crest, or he's casting magic spells. So again, it does fit in, I think, very thematically. Plus, we don't have a lot of just full armored knights. Lots of the guys are like warriors. They have barbarians and stuff like that. We don't have just full suited knight characters too often. His body or slot, he can hold repulse, which definitely makes sense. He starts with Ironhide, which also thematically makes sense. You can take one less damage. In orange, one free magic action or one zone per move. So that's like his repulsor blast or his jet blast. And then red, one free combat action, point blank, and spellcaster. You can cast extra spells or energy blast. Point blank we have not seen yet either. Very odd with this far, and we haven't seen some of these skills. Survivor may perform ranged or magic actions in their own zone no matter the minimum range. When resolving a magic or ranged action is 0, Survivor freely chooses the targets. So basically, it turns all your ranged attacks into melee ranged attacks. Which is really cool because, yeah, you get the extra free magic. You can have Spellcaster. So, yeah, the idea is he can just get right in and cast this stuff wherever he needs to. Then, our final character for the Horde box is our other X-Men character. We have Flugia, or clearly Storm. So, this is a neat, different magician. Like, yeah, they show her in her hand casting lightning as a spell, but yeah. She's got a cool little costume. I love the mohawk version of her. Plus, they gave her a staff. Again, like, they tried to definitely make this stuff feel thematic. And I think they did a great job at that. She, of course, may hold the lightning ball spell. She starts with jump, which is as close as you're going to get to fly in the game. Plus one free magic action and born leader. Makes sense. She's led the X-Men before. One free magic action, one free move action, or mana range. This is another good spellcaster. Good movement around abilities to position where she needs to be. Very, very cool. Alright, so that is what we have for Zombicide Horde box for the Green Horde Kickstarter expansion stuff, or stretch goal stuff. A lot of really cool characters in here. Neat survivors, lots of neat theming on them. The abominations are really cool as well. If you didn't check out video 1, I again recommend going back and checking that out. There's always that question with this stuff is like, do I need this? No, you never need any of this stuff. You can always pick up the base game, play it, pick up some of the core expansions, have a few extra characters. A lot of people will be like, why do I need, 40 survivors? Because, here's the stack of survivor cards and you get done with it. Why do I need 40 extra survivors? You don't. It gives you options. You don't feel like you're playing the exact same character over and over. Some people want to. They get familiar with them. It's nice to sometimes have stuff change up. It gives you some different options to play. Some guys are, very standard. They have straight up do this, do this, this. Some guys have very specific or special abilities they're trying to do. Special things they want to be doing. Some are a little bit overpowered. Like a couple of the musician guys had dual blue abilities. That's great. If you don't like them overpowered characters or you think some of these guys are too difficult to play as, just don't use them. That's the whole thing. There's 40 guys and there's 5 of them you really don't like. That still gives you 35 guys to play. Even if there's 20 you don't like, that still gives you 20. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit me up in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. If there's anything you'd like to see different or separate, let me know. See you guys later. Bye.